Here is a business that looks almost too simple to fail. You take a building on a busy road. You fill it with soap, water, and spinning brushes. A car drives in dirty, rolls through a tunnel for 3 minutes, and comes out clean. A driver hands over $10 or $15, and the whole thing runs on machines, with only a few people on site. Soap costs pennies, water is close to free, and the margins are the envy of almost every other business on the street, often somewhere between 50 and 70%. For years, this looked like one of the smartest small businesses in America. Big investment firms noticed, poured in billions of dollars, and started building new car washes at a rate of nearly 900 a year. Whole chains appeared almost overnight. It seemed like a machine that printed money, one clean car at a time, but the money was never really in the wash. Here is the dirty little secret of the modern car wash. It is that the drive-up customer paying $15 is almost an afterthought. What you are actually running is a subscription. It is a monthly membership that people sign up for, promise themselves they will use every week, and then mostly forget about while the payment quietly leaves their account. And that single shift, from selling washes to selling a subscription, turned a humble corner business into something investors treated like gold. It also, very recently, drove some of the biggest names in the industry straight into bankruptcy. So let us open the real books on the car wash, what one actually costs to build, and why the number ranges from a used car to a small skyscraper. Where the money really comes from, and why it has almost nothing to do with how dirty your car is. Why a car wash is really a real estate business, and a subscription business wearing a very wet disguise. And why the exact same model that minted fortunes just wiped a fortune out. Start with the building, because a car wash is not one business. It is at least 3, and they live in completely different worlds. At the bottom, you have the self-service bay. This is the coin-operated stall where the customer does all the work with a wand and a foam brush. You can build a small one for somewhere between $150,000 and $400,000, and an existing one can sometimes be bought for even less. There are almost no staff. Here, the customer is the labor. It is the cheapest way in, and the ceiling on what it earns is low. In the middle sits the in-bay automatic. This is the single machine that sits still while the car parks inside, and a big arm moves back and forth over it, spraying and scrubbing. A single bay like this can cost anywhere from about $250,000 to $700,000 to set up. It runs almost entirely on its own, often with no employees at all, washing maybe 8 to 12 cars an hour. For a lot of small owners, this is the sweet spot, a real machine that earns while they sleep, without the crushing cost of a full tunnel. And then at the top, you have the express tunnel. This is the modern beast, the long conveyor that grabs your wheel and pulls the car through 100 feet of arches, brushes, and blowers, while you sit back with your foot off the brake. This is where the real money and the real danger live. A brand new express tunnel can cost anywhere from $2.5 million to $8 million or more to build, once you count the land, the construction, and the equipment. Equipment alone can run into the millions, but a good one can push 50 to 60 cars an hour and gross well over $1 million a year. So already you can see the fork in the road. You can spend the price of a nice car, or the price of a large commercial building, and what you are really buying at the top end is not a machine at all. You are buying a piece of real estate on a busy corner, with a money machine bolted to it. Now, what actually comes with that building, because it is more than pipes and brushes. First, and above everything else, the location. A car wash lives or dies on traffic. How many cars pass the entrance every day? How easy it is to turn in, how visible it is from the road. These matter far more than how fancy the equipment is. A brilliant wash on a dead street will starve. An average wash on a great corner will thrive. This is the first clue that you are really in the real estate business. Second, the water, which is not as free as it looks. A car wash uses an enormous amount of it, and most cities now require a water recycling and reclamation system that captures, filters, and reuses it. That system alone can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 to install, and the permits to discharge water can take months to get. In effect, the environment and the city are silent partners in every wash, and they take their cut before the first car ever rolls through. Third, the equipment itself, a long chain of pumps, conveyors, brushes, arches, dryers, and sensors that all have to work in sequence. In a wet and corrosive environment, hundreds of times a day. When it works, it is beautiful. When one part fails, the whole tunnel can stop, and a stopped tunnel earns nothing. This is why the best operators are almost obsessive about maintenance and uptime. Every hour those brushes are still is an hour of members who cannot wash and single customers who drive on to the wash down the road. In a business built on volume, downtime is not an inconvenience. It is lost money that never comes back. And fourth, the thing that is now the actual heart of the business. It is the membership system. This is the app, the license plate cameras that recognize members as they pull in, the payment system that bills them every single month. That quiet software is worth more than any single brush in the building. Now the money, how it actually comes in, and this is where the real surprise lives. Layer 1, the single wash. A customer drives up, pays $10 or $15, gets a wash, and leaves. On paper this is the obvious business. In reality, for a modern express wash, it is the least important layer, because a customer who pays once and vanishes is a customer you have to win all over again tomorrow. Worse, that drive-up customer only shows up when their car is visibly dirty, which means the single wash business rises and falls with the weather and the seasons. A dry, dusty month is good. A long stretch of clear weather, when nobody feels the need, is quietly terrible. Snow and road salt are, strangely, some of the best friends a car wash has, because a salted, filthy car sends its owner looking for a wash all winter long. Building a business on that alone is like fishing. Some days the cars come, and some days they do not, and you can never quite plan around it. Layer 2, and this is the entire game, the unlimited membership. For somewhere around $25 to $50 a month, a customer can wash their car as often as they like. And here is the genius of it, borrowed straight from the gym down the road. People sign up imagining they will come every week, get their money's worth, keep the car gleaming, and a few of them do. But most of them come once or twice a month, or less, while the payment leaves their bank account like clockwork, every month, whether the car is dirty or not. The membership turns a messy, weather-dependent, one-car-at-a-time business into something an investor dreams about. Smooth, predictable, recurring revenue. Think about the math from the wash's side for a moment. A single customer might come in 6 or 8 times a year and pay for each wash. A member paying $30 a month hands over more than $300 a year, arriving in a steady stream, mostly for washes they never actually take. One dirty car once a week would be a bargain for them. Most people never manage it. And that gap between what a member pays for and what a member uses is exactly where the profit hides. Layer 3, the upsells. These are the premium tiers with ceramic coating, tire shine, and hot wax. Little add-ons that cost the wash almost nothing in extra soap, but let it charge a few dollars more. These stack on top of both the single washes and the memberships, and they fall almost straight to the bottom line. Layer 4, the vacuums, the vending, and sometimes detailing. The small extra services that pull a little more money from every visit. And Layer 5, sitting underneath all of it, the real estate itself. A well-located car wash sits on a valuable piece of commercial land, an asset that can appreciate, be borrowed against, or be sold and leased back. The wash itself generates the cash. The land quietly holds the wealth. So let us sit with the strange truth at the center of this business. Listen to that again. A car wash does not really make its money one dirty car at a time. It makes it from a monthly subscription that people forget they are paying. When one of the largest wash chains in the country went through its books recently, it had around 625,000 people signed up to its unlimited wash club, and those memberships brought in more than 2/3 of all its revenue. 2/3. Single washes, the thing you think a car wash sells, were the minority. You are not really selling a car wash. You are selling a subscription that people forget to cancel, attached to a piece of real estate, which sounds like a perfect machine, until you look at the ledger, because the costs are not where you would expect them either. By far the biggest cost of a modern car wash is not soap, and it is not water, and it is not even people. It is the building and the debt used to build it. A multi-million-dollar tunnel is almost always financed, and that loan payment is due every month. In the rain, in the winter, on the slow days, forever, whether cars come or not. That debt is the real weight on the whole business. After that, the running costs are strangely small, and this is the key to everything. Water, electricity, and soap for one more car cost only pennies. Staffing, for a modern wash, is just a few people a shift, and for an in-bay automatic, it can be nobody at all. So once the building is paid for and the doors are open, the cost of washing one more car is almost nothing, which means once you have covered your fixed costs, nearly every extra membership is close to pure profit. This is the number that seduces investors. A coffee shop pays for beans, cups, and staff on every single cup it sells. A car wash, once the doors are open, pays almost nothing to serve one more member. So the more members it packs onto the same fixed building, the faster the profit grows. That is the magic. High fixed costs, tiny running costs, and a flood of recurring revenue on top. But that same shape hides the trap. Because if the building costs a fortune, and the running costs are pennies, then the whole business is a bet on volume and on debt. You have to keep the memberships growing to feed that monthly loan payment, and the moment something threatens the volume, or the cost of the debt, the entire beautiful machine can turn upside down. Now the trap itself, and it is one the whole industry walked straight into. This model was so attractive, so smooth and recurring and high margin, that money came flooding in. Investment firms treated express washes like a gold rush, and built them everywhere, nearly 900 new ones a year in the busy stretch. And car washes are not like coffee shops. There are only so many cars on any given road. When 3 shiny new tunnels open within a couple of miles of each other, they do not create new dirty cars, they just carve up the same ones. Memberships stop growing. Prices get cut. Free wash offers appear on every corner, as each wash fights to steal the other's members. A corner that looked golden becomes a knife fight, and the recurring revenue everyone was counting on stops being quite so reliable. And sitting under all of that was the debt. All those millions borrowed to build all those tunnels, on the assumption that memberships would keep climbing forever. So when borrowing costs suddenly shot up, and the market filled with too many washes at the same time, operators were caught in a vice. Falling membership growth on one side, rising loan payments on the other. That recurring revenue, the thing that looked so safe, was still being crushed between them. So how did a business this clever begin? It begins, fittingly, in the Motor City. Back in 1914, just a few years after the Model T put America on wheels, 2 men in Detroit named Frank McCormick and J.W. Hinkle opened what many consider the first car wash business in the country. They called it the Automated Laundry, which was a generous name because nothing about it was automated. Cars were pushed by hand down a line of workers, one soaping, one scrubbing, one rinsing, one drying. It was a car wash powered entirely by tired arms. For decades, that was the model. Then, slowly, the machines crept in. In 1940, a wash in Hollywood added a winch that pulled the cars through the tunnel, though people still did the scrubbing. In 1946, a man named Thomas Simpson built a semi-automatic system, a conveyor that hooked the bumper and dragged the car past overhead sprinklers and brushes and a 50-horsepower blower. That tunnel was starting to look familiar. And then came the leap. In 1951, in Seattle, 3 brothers named Archie, Dean, and Eldon Anderson built the first fully automatic, hands-free car wash. Soap and water sprayed on their own. Brushes turned on their own. Blowers dried the car with no one touching it. For the first time, a car went in dirty and came out clean, with almost no human hands involved. It was a sensation, and it opened the door to something none of them could have imagined, a business that could be copied and scaled across the entire country. What had been a line of tired men with sponges was now a repeatable machine, and a repeatable machine is a thing you can build 1,000 times. A few years later, in 1955, a man named Dan Hanna opened a wash in Oregon called Rub-a-Dub, and then did the really important thing. He built more of them, into the first real chain, and then started manufacturing the equipment for everyone else. Within a decade, his company was the biggest car wash equipment maker in the world, and he invented much of what a modern wash still uses, including the soft cloth washing and the water recycling systems that keep the cities happy today. Those brothers made the car wash a machine. Hanna made it an industry, and that industry, generations later, is where the cautionary tale finally arrives, because the same model that the investors fell in love with is the one that just broke some of them. Consider one company that had it all. Founded in 2004 in rural Arkansas, it grew from a single pair of washes into a giant, more than 260 locations, spread across 23 states, running under several different brand names. It was backed by a private investment firm, it had the shiny tunnels, and it had the crown jewel, around 625,000 paying members, feeding it recurring revenue. On paper, it was everything the model promised. Then the ground shifted. Through 2022 and 2023, borrowing costs climbed sharply, and the debt used to build all those tunnels grew heavier every month. At the same time, the market was flooding with new washes, competition was biting into memberships, and the loan payments kept coming due. In early 2025, that company filed for bankruptcy protection. It walked in, carrying around $654 million in debt, and just $1 million in cash. And the investment firm that had owned it saw its stake wiped out completely, more than $100 million of rescue money gone. That subscription goldmine had been crushed under the weight of the building it was bolted to, and it was not alone. In the same stretch, another major player announced it was leaving the car wash business entirely, selling off nearly 400 locations for around $385 million. Another one put all of its washes up for sale. The gold rush had turned, and the ones who had borrowed the most to grow the fastest were the ones caught furthest out. None of this happened because people suddenly stopped wanting clean cars. It happened because too many washes were built, with too much borrowed money, all betting the same corner would keep growing forever. So who actually survives this, and how? They understand that it is a real estate business first. The winners obsess over the corner, the traffic, the visibility, the land, because a great location with an average wash beats a spectacular wash in a dead spot every single time. They buy the dirt, not just the machine. Even if the wash itself has a hard year, a great piece of commercial land on a growing road is quietly gaining value the whole time, a second engine running underneath the first. Many of the smartest operators will tell you they are really in the real estate game, and the car wash is only the tenant that happens to pay the rent, a very profitable tenant that keeps the lights on. They treat the membership as the entire business, not a side feature. They pour their energy into growing the number of members, and, even more importantly, keeping them. Because in a subscription business, the quiet loss of members is a slow death, and every member who stays is nearly pure profit. They refuse to drown in debt. What that bankruptcy really teaches is not that car washes are bad, it is that the building can bury you. So the survivors borrow carefully, keep some breathing room, and never bet the whole company on memberships climbing forever. And they do not build into a crowded corner. Before sinking millions into a new tunnel, they count how many washes already sit within a few miles, because a saturated market can turn a golden model into a trap no amount of good soap can fix. So does it work? In the right hands, really, yes, and the numbers really are that good. A well-located wash, with a strong base of members and a sensible amount of debt, is one of the finest small cash machines in business. Margins are high, revenue is recurring, the labor is light, and the land underneath appreciates while the tunnel hums. On those terms, it deserves every bit of the attention it gets, and the operators who respect the model are building real, lasting wealth on those quiet monthly payments. In the wrong hands, it is a very expensive lesson. An overbuilt tunnel, financed to the hilt, dropped into a market already crowded with competitors, is a multi-million-dollar bet that a rise in interest rates or a rival across the street can turn against you fast. That very thing that makes it so attractive, the huge building that lets you sell all those cheap high-margin washes, is the same thing that can sink you when the volume slips. Which brings it back to what you are really buying. You are not really buying a car wash. You are buying a subscription that people forget to cancel, bolted to a piece of real estate on a busy road. The wash itself is only the bait, the reason people sign up in the first place. Soap and water cost almost nothing. The membership is the entire business, and the debt underneath the building is the one thing that can wash it all away. A car wash does not make its money one clean car at a time. It makes it $30 a month from people who signed up meaning to come every week, and then mostly forgot. The wash is the promise, the membership is the profit, and the building is the risk that carries them both.